Creaky Cranky. It was the spring holiday on Sodor. There was to be a party for the children at the Duke and Duchess's new summer house. All the engines were very excited and very busy. Thomas chuffed cheerfully into the docks. James and Henry were passing through.
Good morning, James. Good morning, Henry. Where are you puffing to?
I'm taking these straw bales to the summer house for the children to climb on.
I'm taking wood to make a stage for the children's show and barrels of lemonade to drink.
How wonderful. I'll see you later at the summer house. Good morning, Cranky.
What's good about it?
It's the Duke and Duchess's party day.
Party smarty. I don't go to parties. I'm stuck here loading and unloading all day. I haven't had a moment to rest my hook.
That load is for me. It's eggs for the children to paint. Hurry up, Cranky. You're creaky, Cranky. What's the matter? Are the eggs too heavy a load for you?
Cranky didn't like Thomas's joke. He didn't like being called creaky.
No, they're not too heavy for me. They're light as fluff. You're not strong enough to pull anything heavier than fluff, Tiny Thomas. That's why Henry and James have the heavy loads.
Now Thomas didn't like Cranky's joke.
Fizzling fireboxes, I'm as strong as any other engine.
You're not as strong as me. I can lift much heavier loads than you could ever pull.
Thomas really didn't like that.
We'll see, Cranky. I have lots of time to deliver the eggs. First, I have to prove Cranky wrong. James has a heavy load. I'll go and find James.
So Thomas steamed sternly out of the docks. Thomas found James at the junction by the washdown.
Hello, James. I don't have a lot of jobs today. Shall I deliver your heavy load of wooden barrels for you? You can stay here at the washdown. Then you'll be perfectly polished for the party.
James thought this was a very good idea.
Thank you, Thomas.
So James was uncoupled from the heavy flatbed of wood, and Thomas was coupled up. The flatbed was heavy. Huffing and puffing, Thomas set off for the docks. Thomas chuffed back into the docks.
You again. What are you doing with that wood?
This flatbed is very heavy. I'm sure you can't lift it.
Cranky looked at the flatbed of wood and barrels.
I'm sure I can.
Cranky's hook swung low over the wood. Thomas watched and waited. With a creak and a crank, and a crank and a creak, Cranky raised the flatbed into the air. Thomas's boiler buzzed.
Told you so.
You're still creaky, Cranky.
And you're still Tiny Thomas.
That made Thomas very cross.
I will prove Cranky wrong and still have time to deliver the eggs. I'm sure Henry had an even heavier load. I'll go and find Henry.
So Thomas steamed stormily away. Thomas found Henry waiting by the coal hopper for his special coal.
Hello, Henry. I don't have a lot of jobs today. Shall I deliver your heavy load of straw bales for you? Then you can wait here for your special coal.
Henry thought this was a very good idea.
Thank you, Thomas.
So Henry was uncoupled from the heavy flatbed of straw bales, and Thomas was coupled up. The flatbed was very heavy. Huffing and puffing, Thomas set off once more for the docks. Soon, Thomas puffed back into the docks.
You again. Now, what are you doing with those straw bales?
This flatbed is very, very heavy. I'm sure you can't lift this.
Cranky looked at the flatbed of straw bales.
I'm sure I can.
Cranky's hook swung low over the straw. Thomas watched and waited. With a creak and a crank, and a crank and a creak, Cranky raised the flatbed of straw into the air. Thomas's funnel fizzed.
Told you so.
You're still creaky, Cranky.
And you're still Tiny Thomas.
That made Thomas even crosser. More than ever, Thomas wanted to prove Creaky Cranky wrong. He had to find the heaviest thing he could. Then, an idea flew into his funnel.
Lift me, Cranky.
Cranky looked at Thomas. He couldn't let Thomas win. Cranky's hook swung low over Thomas. Thomas hardly dared puff. With a creak and a crank, and a crank and a creak, and very, very slowly, Cranky raised Thomas high into the air.
Bubbling boilers! Creaky Cranky is lifting me!
Then there was trouble. Cranky creaked louder than ever. His crane arm stuttered and juddered. It creaked and it croaked. Then it cracked.
Oh, no.
Cranky's crane arm had broken, and it was all Thomas's fault. Thomas was stuck high in the sky and blowing in the breeze. Then Sir Topham had arrived.
Thomas, what are you doing up there?
I'm sorry, sir. I was...
You are causing confusion and delay. The Duke and Duchess have no wood, straw bales, or eggs. Now I see you have them all here. Cranky is broken, and you, Thomas, think it's a good time to try being a bird. The Duke and Duchess are waiting.
Thomas felt very silly. Then Sir Topham Hatt looked at Cranky.
And you're as silly as Thomas.
Cranky crumpled.
The shame to be as silly as a Steamy.
Soon, a workman had climbed up Cranky. Slowly and carefully, Thomas was lowered and landed with a jolt and a judder, just as Spencer arrived.
Dear, oh dear, Thomas, what a mess. Little engines can get into very big trouble.
Thomas felt even sillier in front of Spencer, but he knew now that being strong was only good if you were also really useful. And he had to be really useful.
Spencer, I need your help. You're very strong and can pull much heavier loads than me. Will you take the wood, the straw bales, and the eggs to the summer house for me, please? It's my fault that Cranky is broken. I must put everything right as quickly as I can.
Very well.
Thank you. I'm sorry, Cranky. I know you're strong, stronger than me. I'll be back soon with the right parts to fix you.
Then Thomas pumped his pistons and puffed out of the docks. Thomas wheeshed like the wind all the way to the steamworks.
Hello, Victor. Cranky creaked, and now he's cracked. He needs new parts.
You've come to the right place, my friend. Parts aplenty here. We'll have Cranky up and lifting in no time.
Soon, Thomas's flatbed was loaded with new parts for Cranky.
Thank you, Victor.
Of course, my friend.
Give Cranky my best.
And Thomas puffed happily away. Thomas puffed into the docks with his heavy flatbed. Cranky was still looking crumpled.
Here you are, Cranky. We'll have you fixed in no time.
Thank you, Thomas. That's a heavy flatbed. You know, you're not tiny.
And you're not creaky.
Cranky laughed, and that made Thomas laugh too. Playtime. All the engines on the island of Sodor are very happy. They are all pleased to work on Sir Topham Hatt's railway. There is always something new and exciting to look forward to. Like the day the famous singer Alicia Botti came to give a concert at the town hall. Thomas met Percy at the washdown. His boiler bubbled with pride.
Hello, Percy. I have a very special. I must meet Alicia Botti at the docks. Then I have to take her straight to the town hall for a grand concert.
That's exciting. I have news too. Someone else is arriving at the docks.
Thomas was puzzled.
Charlie, the new engine.
Thomas hadn't heard about Charlie.
What's so special about Charlie? He's the favorite engine of the mainland controller. Everyone says he is the most fun engine ever. Even more fun than you, Thomas.
Percy chuffed cheerfully away.
Bumpers and buffers. I don't think any engine is more fun than me.
And Thomas puffed off to the docks, his wheels whirring with worry. Thomas collected Alicia Botti at the docks. Miss Botti looked very grand.
I'm pleased to be traveling with you, Thomas.
Thomas's pistons popped with pride. Then he saw Charlie.
Charlie's smaller than me, and he certainly doesn't look more fun than me.
Hello, are you Thomas?
Yes, I am.
I'm Charlie. I've heard a lot about you.
You have?
The engines on the mainland say you're even more fun than me.
Thomas was surprised. Then Sir Topham had arrived.
Thomas, Charlie has a busy first day. Edward has broken down. Charlie must pick up Edward's freight cars of seats from the steamworks. Then he has to collect ice cream from the dairy and red carpet from Knapford Station. If Charlie needs help, I'm sure you will look after him.
Yes, sir.
Yippee! Want to come with me?
Why?
It'll be fun.
Sorry, I'm busy.
I heard you were a fun engine. Maybe you're not fun at all.
Thomas didn't like being told he was no fun at all.
I'll come with you to the steamworks, and then I'll take Miss Botti to the town hall. I'm sure I have plenty of time.
So Thomas steamed slowly towards the steamworks, and Charlie followed behind. Thomas chuffed carefully to a junction. Miss Botti smiled sweetly from her passenger car. Charlie pulled alongside.
This isn't fun. I'll show you fun. Yippee!
Thomas couldn't let Charlie be more fun than him. He pumped his pistons, bubbled his boiler, and fizzed his firebox. The race was on. Thomas and Charlie roared and raced. Their funnels were fiery. They were soon red-faced. Alicia Botti could not believe her eyes.
My goodness me, this is a surprise. I thought Thomas was steady and slow. What thrills and what fun on the way to my show!
The engines were laughing. The race was such fun.
You're quick and you're speedy, but I'm number one.
With a whoosh and a wheesh, the two engines pulled into the steamworks.
Steady, boys. Who is your friend, Thomas?
Charlie, he's new.
I'm fun.
And I'm Alicia Botti.
Miss Botti, it is an honor to have you visit our steamworks. Kevin.
Sorry, boss.
And while Charlie was coupled up to Edward's flatbed, Miss Botti sang to the steamworks. Then it was time to go.
You are fun, Thomas. Let's go to the dairy.
Thomas knew he should take Miss Botti straight to the town hall, but he didn't want Charlie to think he wasn't fun.
I'm sure I still have time to get Miss Botti to the town hall.
So Thomas and Charlie left for the dairy. Soon, the two engines came to a junction.
Let's puff down there.
We can't. That's a bumpy track.
But it'll be fun.
Thomas wanted to be fun, so he followed Charlie down the bumpy track. Thomas and Charlie bounced and bumped. Alicia Botti juddered and jumped. And the couplings jiggered and jiggled, looser and looser. At last, Thomas and Charlie pulled up to the dairy.
That was fun.
And this is even more fun. We must go, Miss Botti. You mustn't be late for the concert.
Bye-bye!
If you were a really fun engine, you would race me to Knapford.
Thomas knew he was late, but he wanted to be really fun.
Just one last race, Charlie.
Thomas and Charlie thundered and roared. Thomas thought he had never puffed so fast.
I'm first.
Let's race again.
Then Gordon whooshed past. He was huffing grandly. He was taking Sir Topham Hatt to the town hall. Thomas gasped.
I'm late. I must whoosh like the wind to the town hall.
Thomas pumped his pistons, and he chuffed away quickly in a cloud of steam.
I mustn't be late. I mustn't be late.
Then there was trouble. Thomas didn't know that his couplings had unhooked. Thomas raced on to the town hall, alone. Thomas steamed to a stop. His cheeks were redder than James's shiny coat.
Here I am, sir.
Sir Topham Hatt looked hard at Thomas.
Here you are, Thomas. But where are Annie and Clarabelle? And where is Miss Botty?
Thomas felt terrible. He had been having fun when he should have been really useful.
I'm sorry, sir. I've lost them.
Sir Topham Hatt boomed.
Then you had better go and find them.
Thomas puffed to a junction. He had looked for Annie and Clarabelle, but he couldn't find them anywhere. Then Charlie chuffed up. He was on his way to the town hall.
Hello, Charlie. I've lost Annie and Clarabelle and Miss Botty. The couplings must have come loose on the bumpy track and snapped when we were racing.
Don't worry, Thomas. I have a good idea.
What's that?
We'll have a race. Whoever finds Annie and Clarabelle first is the #1 fun engine.
Thomas was stern. He didn't think that was a good idea.
No, Charlie. This isn't the time for fun. This is the time for being really useful. I have a very important job to do.
And Thomas huffed away. Thomas chuffed carefully. He was very worried. Then Thomas heard singing. He smiled from buffer to buffer.
That's Miss Botty singing. Hooray!
Thomas found Miss Botty by the bridge. He had never heard anything as beautiful as Miss Botty singing.
Miss Botty must go. I'm sorry I kept you waiting.
And Miss Botty cheerfully waved goodbye as the crowd clapped and cheered. Thomas puffed to the town hall with Annie and Clarabelle. Sir Topham Hatt was cross.
At last, Thomas. You've made Miss Botty very late.
Not at all, Bertram. Thomas has made me very happy. I've had the ride of my life. So many people to sing to, and such fun.
That made Thomas smile, and so did his fun friend Charlie. Steamy Sodor. All the engines on Sodor like to be really useful. They huff and they puff to do their best for Sir Topham Hatt's railway. And sometimes that means doing a job they have never done before. One morning, Sir Topham Hatt had a new job for Thomas.
Victor has to go to the transfer yards. He has to see one of the little engines. He will be away all day. You must look after the steamworks, Thomas. Victor will tell you all you need to know. Make sure you listen carefully.
Yes, sir.
Thomas was excited.
The Sodor Steamworks is one of my favorite places on the island. Today, I'm going to be in charge.
That's a very important job, Thomas. Good luck.
Thank you, Percy.
And Thomas puffed proudly away to the steamworks and his new job. Victor was waiting for Thomas at the steamworks. Thomas was very excited. His boiler bubbled and his firebox fizzed.
Hello, my friend. This is a big day for you. The steamworks will be very busy.
Not too busy for me, Victor. I like being busy.
That's good, my friend. Now, when an engine comes in, you have to listen carefully to their problem. If you need help, ask Kevin.
That's right, Thomas. When you're in a fix, look no further. Just ask Kevin. It'll save you bother.
Thank you, Kevin.
Are you listening, Thomas?
Yes, Victor.
But Thomas was too excited to listen. He wanted to get on with his very important job.
Don't worry, Victor. I know just what to do. Hurry, Victor. You'll be late for the little engines.
Very well, my friend. Good luck.
And Victor steamed away. Thomas was now in charge. Soon, Spencer steamed sulkily into the steamworks. His shiny silver paintwork was scratched and scuffed. Spencer was surprised to see Thomas.
Where's Victor?
He's away today. I'm in charge.
Spencer was worried.
Oh my, Spencer. You are in a mess. I'll check you over from wheels to whistle. Put Spencer up on the hoist, please, Kevin.
Kevin was worried.
Are you sure, boss? I mean, Thomas? I don't think Spencer needs to go on the hoist. I mean, he needs a repaint, boss.
But Thomas wasn't listening to Kevin. He was too excited. He was in charge of the steamworks.
Put Spencer up on the hoist, Kevin.
Over here, Spencer. Please, if you don't mind. Please. Thank you.
So Spencer huffed huffily to the hoist. Then Henry chuffed in. Henry wasn't well. He spluttered and stuttered. He wheezed and sneezed. Henry was surprised to see Thomas.
What are you doing here, Thomas?
Victor is away today. I'm in charge.
Henry sighed. Then he wheezed. Then he sneezed.
Foot plates and fenders. I know just what's wrong with you, Henry. You have been given the wrong coal.
Henry gasped.
No, Thomas. It's not my...
But Thomas wasn't listening.
Don't worry, Henry. We'll have you puffing proudly in no time. Kevin, bring over some of Henry's special coal, please.
But what about Spencer, boss?
But Thomas wasn't listening.
Quick as you can, Kevin.
So Kevin trundled to the coal. Spencer sat sniffly by the hoist. Henry spluttered and stuttered. And Thomas felt pleased and proud.
I like being in charge of the steamworks.
Then James steamed snootily in. Straw and twigs blocked his funnel.
Why are you here, Thomas?
Victor is away today. I'm in charge. Bubbling boilers. You are in a mess. What happened to you?
I can't puff properly.
I know just what you need. Kevin,
Yes, boss. I mean, Thomas.
James needs a new funnel.
No, I don't.
But Thomas wasn't listening to James.
But what about Henry's coal and Spencer on the hoist?
Thomas wasn't listening to Kevin.
Find the spare funnel, please.
Kevin was now very confused. To find the funnel, he had to put down Henry's coal. But first, he had to raise Spencer on the hoist. It was all too much for Kevin.
Oh, dear, boss. Thomas.
Don't worry, Kevin. I'm in charge.
Then there was trouble. Kevin reeled and rolled back towards the hoist. And with a biff and a bash, he hit a big green button. That made Spencer shudder into the air.
Trembling tracks, what's happening?
Kevin gasped.
Heaving hooks. Sorry, Spencer.
Then Kevin dropped Henry's coal right in front of Henry's nose.
Bust my boiler and crashing coals.
Kevin rocked and rolled into James.
Mind my shiny red paintwork.
James was so upset, he blew the biggest puff of steam he had ever blown. All over Victor. Victor had just arrived from the transfer yards. Now he was covered from buffer to buffer in twigs, soot, and straw. Victor's wheels wobbled and his steam stuttered.
Sizzling Sodor! What has happened to my beautiful steamworks?
Thomas looked at Victor and then at the mess and the muddle.
Cinders and ashes. This is all my fault.
No, boss. I mean, Thomas, I'm sure it's my fault. I'm sorry, boss. I did try to say, boss.
No, Kevin, it's not your fault. I didn't listen to Victor. I didn't listen to you, and I didn't listen to my friends. I was too excited and too silly.
I think, my friend, you are right. What will you do now?
I'm sorry to all of you. Now I'll listen to you, and I'll make sure you're all fixed properly.
So Victor and Thomas went first to Spencer.
I don't need checking from wheels to whistle. I need new paint for my scuffs and scratches.
This time, Thomas listened.
Don't worry, Spencer. You'll be sparkling silver in no time.
That made Spencer very happy. Next, Victor and Thomas talked to Henry.
I have my special coal, but there's something wrong with my firebox. It makes me wheeze and sneeze.
Don't worry, Henry. Your firebox will be cleaned. You won't wheeze and sneeze anymore.
And Thomas was right.
Pumping pistons. No more wheezes and sneezes. That's much better.
Lastly, Victor and Thomas listened to James.
I don't need a new funnel. I need my old funnel cleaned and polished.
James, you will have the most perfectly polished funnel on Sodor.
James's funnel was shining like the sun. James smiled from fender to footplate. Soon, all the engines were fixed. They were ready to be really useful again.
Well done, my friend. Time to go home.
Not quite, Victor. It's time to say thank you to Kevin.
Anytime, boss. I mean, Thomas.
And everyone laughed and laughed and laughed. Percy's Parcel. It was a beautiful day on the island of Sodor. The sun was shining in a bright blue sky. And all the engines were very excited. There was to be a special party. It was Sir Topham Hatt's mother's birthday. Sir Topham Hatt arrived at Tidmouth Sheds. He had a special for Thomas.
Thomas, you are to collect passengers for the party from Brendam Docks.
Thomas was excited.
Yes, sir.
Percy hoped that Sir Topham Hatt had a special for him, but he didn't.
Don't worry, Percy. I'm sure you'll have a special later.
But Percy still felt sad. Mavis rolled by and stopped. She could see Percy was unhappy.
What's wrong, Percy?
I don't have a special. Everybody else does.
Don't worry, Percy. I'm sure Sir Topham Hatt will come back with a special just for you. And when he does, be sure to tell me all about it.
Just then, Sir Topham Hatt did come back. Percy was surprised.
Percy, you have the most important special of all. You must collect my mother's special birthday parcel from Brendam Docks. Then you must deliver it to the birthday party at Knapford Station.
Percy beamed from buffer to buffer.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Percy was excited. Mavis was right. Percy puffed into Brendam Docks. He gasped. The parcel was the most special parcel he had ever seen. Percy was so proud his firebox fizzed.
I must show Mavis straight away. She will be very proud of me.
Thomas was at Brendam. He was pleased for his friend.
Percy, you have the most important special of all. I know. I'm going to show Mavis my special straight away. But don't you have to go to Knapford Station?
Percy didn't want to listen to Thomas.
I have plenty of time to puff to Knapford. First, I will show Mavis my special.
So, Percy set off for the quarry as quickly as he could puff. Percy steamed into the quarry. He looked for Mavis. Mavis was busy. Rocky was loading heavy crates onto freight cars, and Mavis was shunting them. It was hard work.
Hello, Mavis.
Hello, Percy.
Look at my special.
I'm sorry, Percy. I can't stop now. I'm too busy.
Don't worry, Mavis. I'll wait.
Look out, Percy!
But it was too late.
Oh, no!
Rocky dropped his heavy load of slate. Everyone was lost in a thick black cloud of slate dust. At last, the dust cleared. Mavis, Rocky, and Percy were covered in thick gray dust, and so was Percy's special. Percy was upset.
Bubbling boilers. Look at the birthday parcel. What am I going to do?
Percy thought as hard as he could. At last, an idea flew into his funnel.
I'll go to the washdown. My special will be cleaned there as good as new.
Percy, shouldn't you go straight to the party at Knapford?
Percy didn't want to listen to Rocky.
I'll go to Knapford Station as soon as I've shown Mavis my special. I still have plenty of time.
So, Percy steamed quickly away. Percy huffed and puffed to the washdown. James was already there having a polish.
My, Percy, whatever happened to you?
Percy felt very silly.
I'd like a very good wash, please.
The workmen got straight to work. Water and soapy bubbles sprayed everywhere. Soon, Percy was gleaming green again. But his special looked terrible.
Bubbling boilers! The birthday parcel is wetter than wet! What am I going to do?
Percy thought as quickly as he could. At last, another idea flew into his funnel.
I'll take my special to the Sodor Steamworks. Victor will help me. His hot air blowers will dry the birthday parcel.
Percy, shouldn't you go straight to the party at Knapford?
Percy didn't want to listen to James.
I'll go to Knapford Station as soon as I've shown Mavis my special. I'm sure I still have plenty of time.
And Percy chuffed quickly away. Percy raced like the wind to the steamworks. Percy looked for Victor at the steamworks. He couldn't find him anywhere. But he did find a workman.
I'd like to be dried as quickly as you can, please.
The workman was happy to help. Hot air whooshed and whirred all over Percy and all over his special. Soon the workman had finished. Percy felt very pleased until he saw the birthday parcel.
Wobbling wheels! It's all crinkled and crumpled. What am I going to do?
Percy thought as hard as he could, but this time, no ideas flew into his funnel at all. So Percy steamed sadly away. Percy clickety-clacked slowly along the track. Now he didn't want to show Mavis his special. He had spoiled Sir Topham Hatt's mother's birthday parcel, and he couldn't go to the party at Knapford now. Percy didn't want anyone to see him, so he chuffed into a siding to hide. He felt terrible. Then he heard Mavis and Edward chuff to the junction.
Hello, Mavis. You look happy.
I am. I've just picked up these brand new crates.
Suddenly, Percy stopped feeling sad, and he started to listen very carefully.
Brand new crates?
Victor had just delivered them to the steamworks. I've never pulled brand new crates before. Goodbye, Edward.
A brand new crate is just what I need.
Percy pumped his pistons and puffed away to the steamworks.
Hello, Victor.
Hello, my friend. How can I help you?
I've just seen Mavis with brand new crates. May I have one, please?
Well, what for?
To put my birthday parcel in.
Well, of course you can, Percy.
That made Percy very happy.
Thank you, Victor.
Soon, a new bright red crate was sitting on Percy's flatbed.
This will be the grandest parcel Sir Topham Hatt's mother has ever been given. I must hurry now. Everyone will be waiting. Thank you, Victor.
And Percy puffed proudly out of the steamworks. Sir Topham Hatt and his mother were waiting at Knapford Station. Sir Topham Hatt was cross. Then Percy puffed in. The brand new bright red birthday parcel looked wonderful. Everyone cheered.
Happy birthday, ma'am. Here's your very special birthday present.
Sir Topham Hatt's mother beamed, and even Sir Topham Hatt smiled. As the workmen opened the crate, everyone wanted to see what the present was. Sir Topham Hatt's mother was most excited of all. Then everyone gasped. It was a beautiful portrait of Sir Topham Hatt's mother.
Oh, my Bertram! What a wonderful surprise! I'm very happy.
That's the most special I've ever seen, Percy.
Percy smiled from footplate to fender. He was sure he was the happiest engine of Henry's good deeds. There are lots of beautiful birds on the island of Sodor. The engines know their names and their songs. One day, the engines were especially excited. A new bird had been seen on the island. Sir Topham Hatt arrived at Tidmouth Sheds. He had important news.
The Sodor warbler has arrived back on the island. Very few people have ever seen this bird, so a lot of visitors will be coming to our island. You will all be very busy taking them to spot the bird. Remember your passenger cars at all times, and remember not to frighten the warbler.
Henry was worried for the warbler.
Do you think the Sodor warbler will be scared of engines?
No, Henry, not if you're really useful. And I need you to be really useful.
Yes, sir.
You must deliver a nesting pole to Bluff's Cove.
Percy was puzzled.
What's a nesting pole? It's a tall pole with a shelf on top. Birds build their nests on it.
Percy liked this idea.
Do you understand, Henry?
Yes, sir. I will deliver the pole straight away.
Good. We hope the Sodor warbler will make its home here once more.
That's a very exciting special, Henry.
Henry was happy. He puffed away proudly. Later, Henry clickety-clacked along the track. Ahead, he could see Thomas with Annie and Clarabelle. Thomas had stopped.
That's strange.
Henry shoved slowly up to Thomas.
Is anything wrong, Thomas?
No, Henry. I'm letting Farmer McCall cross with his sheep.
Henry could see the sheep tripping and tapping across the tracks.
Thomas, you helped me. That's a good deed. Well done.
You're welcome, Farmer McCall.
Thomas chuffed away cheerfully. Henry puffed and puzzled.
I would like to help someone. They will call it a good deed, and they will say, "Well done, Henry."
This made Henry feel very happy.
I'm sure I can deliver the nesting pole and do good deeds.
So Henry huffed happily on. Soon, Henry saw Farmer Trotter's pink pigs. They were snuffling and sniffing sadly at the side of the track.
Those pigs don't look very happy.
Then, Henry saw that the pigs were looking at the muddy field on the other side of the tracks.
I know what's wrong. Those pigs want to roll in the muddy field. If I stop here, those pigs can cross safely. They won't be scared anymore.
So, Henry stopped, and the pigs tripped and trotted across the tracks. Soon, the pigs weren't pink anymore. They were brown, muddy, and very happy. Farmer Trotter wasn't happy at all.
I wanted pink pigs to take to the county fair.
Henry was sorry.
Oh dear, Farmer Trotter is cross. I didn't help at all.
Suddenly, an idea flew into Henry's funnel.
I'll reverse back down the track. Then the pigs will have more room to cross.
Henry pumped his pistons. His wheels whirred. He puffed steam and he chuffed backwards.
This should help, Farmer Trotter.
But it didn't help. The pigs were scared by Henry's steam and the whir of his wheels. They scattered and clattered into the apple crates. The apples rolled everywhere. This made the pigs very happy. They munched and scrunched the rosy red apples. But now they wouldn't move from the tracks. That made Farmer Trotter even more cross.
Bust my buffers. My idea wasn't a good deed at all.
Just then, Thomas puffed up on the down line. Annie and Clarabelle were full of visitors to see the Sodor warbler.
Cinders and ashes. How am I going to puff through? The Sodor warbler has been spotted in the Fenland fields. I'm in a hurry.
I'm sorry, Thomas. I was trying to help Farmer Trotter. I'm sure I can help you. I'll take your visitors to the Fenland fields. We'll be there in good time.
Thomas thought this was a good idea.
Thank you, Henry.
The visitors were surprised. They stepped and scurried through the pigs to Henry's passenger car. Henry felt pleased.
I'm sure this is a good deed, and I'm sure I still have time to deliver the nesting pole.
Henry puffed and huffed his hardest all the way to the Fenland fields.
Here we are. Watch out for the warbler.
The visitors were very excited. They opened the carriage doors carefully. They didn't want to scare the Sodor warbler away. Henry felt very happy.
At last, I've been helpful. I've done a good deed.
Henry tooted a loud goodbye. Then there was trouble. A colorful bird flapped and flew from a tree high into the sky and away. It was the Sodor warbler. The visitors moaned and groaned.
Fizzling fireboxes. The bird was scared of my loud whistle.
Henry steamed sadly away.
I wanted to help the pigs. I wanted to help Farmer Trotter. I wanted to help the visitors. But I haven't helped anybody. I've done no good deeds. And I haven't delivered the nesting pole.
Henry felt terrible. Henry huffed towards Bluff's Cove. He had to deliver the nesting pole.
I don't think anyone is ever going to say, "Well done, Henry," to me.
Henry waited at a junction. His wheels wobbled with worry.
Now I'm sure I'll be late with the nesting pole. Sir Topham Hatt will be cross with me. Oh dear, oh dear.
Suddenly, a colorful bird flew from a tree. Henry was too sad to smile at the bird. The bird landed on Henry's buffer.
At least I can give that bird a rest and a ride.
So, Henry and the beautiful bird chuffed on towards Bluff's Cove. Henry puffed to the halt. A lot of visitors were waiting. They were hoping to see the Sodor warbler.
I hope they'll be pleased that I have delivered the nesting pole.
But the visitors weren't just pleased. They were amazed. They smiled and pointed and took out their cameras. Henry was surprised.
Oh, the visitors seem very pleased to see me. I can't think why. After all, no one has said, "Well done, Henry."
Well done, Henry. You have brought the Sodor warbler to us. Hooray for Henry!
Henry blinked and blushed.
The bird I carried on my buffer was the Sodor warbler.
Then Thomas arrived with more visitors.
Well done, Henry.
Henry was so proud, his firebox fizzed and his boiler bubbled.
And this time, I wasn't even trying to do a good deed.
Soon the nesting pole was up. The Sodor warbler looked snug and sleepy in its nest at the top.
I think our friend likes its new home. Welcome home, Mr. Warbler.
And well done, Henry.
Slippy Sodor. It was a very special day on the island of Sodor. The Mr. Bubbles clown show was coming to town. Mr. Bubbles was famous. He could blow the biggest bubbles ever seen. All the engines were happy and excited, except for Thomas. He had a cracked funnel and had to puff to the steamworks for repairs. At the steamworks, everything was huffing and puffing and steaming and wheeshing, everything except Thomas. He waited sadly on the turntable for Victor to arrive. Thomas didn't like it when he needed repairs. It meant waiting inside and not having fun out on his branch line.
Don't look so miserable, Thomas. We'll find you a nice spare funnel and have you out and about in no time. Kevin, let's see what we have for our good friend Thomas.
Yes, boss. Coming right up. Sorry, boss. It was a slip of the hook.
Oh, Kevin. Well, that won't do at all, my friend. This funnel is much too small. Kevin, let's try something a little larger.
Yes, boss. Right away, boss.
Suffering Sodor, Kevin. What are you doing?
Sorry, boss. It was a slip of the hook.
Yes, we know, Kevin. We know.
Try this one for size, Thomas.
No. This one is too large.
We only have one more spare funnel, boss. I'll be back in 2 toots of a whistle.
Let's hope it's a good fit, my friend, or you'll be here for quite a while.
Here it is, Thomas. Oops. Sorry, Thomas. It was a slip of the
Hook. I know, Kevin. I know.
Magnificent. A perfect fit.
This funnel makes me feel silly.
Not at all, my friend. It's splendid. It will help you puff very well until your old funnel is fixed. Now chuff along. I hear that Mr. Bubbles has a very special for you at Brendan Docks.
Thomas chuffed into Brendan. He was very unhappy. Mr. Bubbles was waiting. He was very happy to see Thomas.
Hello, Thomas.
Mr. Bubbles has a very important job for you, Thomas.
This is my very special bubble liquid. It makes the biggest bubbles you have ever seen. I need it for my show this afternoon. Please take it to Knapford Station.
So Thomas backed up slowly and carefully to the flatbed and was coupled up.
Now you mustn't spill any of the liquid, Thomas. Puff slowly and carefully.
Yes, sir.
We'll meet you at Knapford.
Then James chuffed up.
Hello, Thomas. That's a funny funnel.
Thomas didn't want a funny funnel. He wanted his old funnel back. And he didn't like James laughing at his funny funnel. So Thomas pumped his pistons and raced away as quickly as he could. He forgot all about going slowly and carefully. Later, Thomas stopped at a crossing. He saw Gordon.
Hello, Thomas. Oh, that's a funny funnel.
Thomas didn't want a funny funnel. He wanted his old funnel back. And he didn't like Gordon laughing at his funny funnel. So Thomas pumped his pistons and raced away from Gordon as quickly as he could. He wasn't thinking about going slowly and carefully. Bubble liquid splished out and sploshed onto the road. But Thomas didn't notice. Sir Topham Hatt was driving Mr. Bubbles on the road. Then there was trouble. The car skidded and skated right into a muddy ditch. Thomas raced on. He stopped at a signal and saw Henry in a siding.
Hello, Thomas. Oh, that's a funny funnel.
Thomas didn't want a funny funnel. He wanted his old funnel back. And he didn't like Henry laughing at his funny funnel. So Thomas pumped his pistons and raced away from Henry as quickly as he could. He still wasn't thinking about going slowly and carefully. Sir Topham Hatt and Mr. Bubbles drove toward a bridge.
Slow down, Thomas. You're spilling my bubble liquid.
But Thomas didn't hear them. More bubble liquid splished out and splashed onto the road. Sir Topham Hatt's car skidded and skated right into a haystack. But Thomas didn't notice. He went even faster. And so did Sir Topham Hatt and Mr. Bubbles. Thomas didn't see them, but he did see a red signal. Thomas put on his brakes. More bubble liquid splished out and splashed onto the road. Sir Topham Hatt's car skidded and skated right into a pond. But Thomas was too worried about his funny funnel to notice. He raced on towards Knapford. At last, Thomas puffed into Knapford, just as Sir Topham Hatt and Mr. Bubbles arrived. Sir Topham Hatt was very cross.
Thomas, you were going much too fast. The special bubble liquid splished and splashed out of the tank.
And now the tank is empty. And it's almost time for my show to start. The children will be very disappointed.
Thomas felt terrible.
I'm sorry, sir.
The only special bubble liquid left is at Brendam Docks. Now, there isn't time to pick it up before the show.
Yes, there is. I'm sure I can puff to Brendan and back in time for your show.
Very well, Thomas. But this time, you must be careful.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
And Thomas chuffed quickly away. Soon, Thomas arrived back at Brendam Docks. A new tank of bubble liquid was loaded onto his flatbed, and Thomas puffed carefully away. Thomas saw Edward at a crossing.
Hello, Thomas. That's a funny funnel.
Thomas didn't like Edward laughing at his funny funnel. But this time, Thomas didn't pump his pistons and race away from Edward as quickly as he could. He chuffed carefully on to Knapford. Then, Thomas puffed past some children. The children saw his funny funnel. They were excited. They thought Thomas was going to be part of Mr. Bubble's show. Thomas was surprised. He gave the children an extra loud toot. The children laughed even more. Thomas liked to see the children laughing.
They're laughing at my funny funnel. It makes them happy.
And that made Thomas happy. Thomas steamed back into Knapford. The children cheered.
Well done, Thomas. You haven't spilled one drop of my special bubble liquid. And you're just in time for my show.
Later, the children clapped and cheered at the Mr. Bubbles Clown Show. They had never seen such big bubbles. Then the children spotted that Thomas's funny funnel looked just like Mr. Bubbles' hat.
Thank you, Thomas. The funniest engine on Sodor.
Soon, everyone was laughing, and Thomas most of all. Snow tracks. It was winter time on the island of Sodor. It had snowed all night. The trees were white. The cottages were white. And even Sir Topham Hatt's railway was white. There was not an engine in sight. At Tidmouth Sheds, the engines looked out. Percy was very excited.
It snowed!
Thomas didn't like the snow.
Bother. I'll have to wear my heavy snowplow.
I don't like snow. You can get stuck in it.
Stuff and nonsense. Snow is soft, but I am strong. It won't bother me.
Then Sir Topham Hatt arrived.
Gordon, you must take some freight cars to Brendam Docks. They are needed for an important coal delivery. You are a strong engine, but snow is slippery. Puff the long way round. Yes, sir. Thomas, you must deliver bundles of firewood to the stations.
Yes, sir.
And then Sir Topham Hatt left. Thomas puffed with pride.
That's a very special job.
Not as important as mine. I shall go straight to the docks. I shall steam over every hill I come to.
Gordon pumped his pistons proudly.
Puff the long way round. That means, Gordon, don't go up any hills.
Hills are not too steep for me. I am strong. I am the best.
And Gordon wheeshed out of Tidmouth Sheds. Gordon huffed and he puffed. His smoke was gray against the snowy white countryside. Soon, Gordon came to a hill.
This hill isn't too steep for me. I shall steam over it.
So, Gordon thundered up the hill.
I am special. I am the best.
And he chuffed right to the top.
That was easy.
But Gordon found going down the other side wasn't so easy. The rails were icy. Gordon's wheels slipped and slid. He went faster and faster.
Perishing pistons!
Spencer was huffing up the hill. The Duke and Duchess of Boxford were on board. They were having tea.
Slow down, Gordon.
But Gordon couldn't slow down. Slushy snow sprayed from his wheels. Spencer was covered from footplate to fender.
Rattle my rods. I'm as dirty as a ditch.
But Gordon didn't hear as he clickety-clacked on the icy tracks. Gordon came to another hill. It was even bigger.
This hill isn't too steep for me. I shall steam over it.
So Gordon thundered up the hill.
I am special. I am the best.
But the tracks were icy. The snow was deep, and the hill was very, very steep. Gordon steamed slower and slower.
Bust my boiler. This is hard work.
Wheel turn by wheel turn, Gordon huffed and puffed to the top of the hill. He felt very pleased.
I am the strongest. I am the best.
But at the bottom of the hill, there was deep, deep snow. The snow flew up all over Gordon's face.
Bubbling boilers! I can't see!
Gordon rattled off the main track and into a siding, straight into the back of some slate cars. Gordon was covered in thick gray dust.
Oh, the indignity. At least I can see now.
And Gordon huffed on towards the docks. The snow was deeper and deeper and deeper. Gordon could hardly huff through it.
This is hard work.
Now, Gordon was at the bottom of Gordon's Hill. Gordon's Hill was the biggest of all, and it was covered in thick, thick snow.
Gordon's Hill isn't too steep for me. I shall steam over it. I am strong. I am the best.
But Gordon didn't feel so strong anymore, and he didn't feel the best. Gordon puffed against the snow.
Snow is soft, and I am strong. It won't bother me.
But the snow wasn't soft. It had become a giant snowball. It grew bigger and bigger. Gordon started to huff slower and slower. He thought his boiler was going to burst.
Oh, my!
Just then, Thomas chuffed up behind Gordon.
Thank you for clearing the tracks, Gordon. Now I can deliver the firewood faster.
Then there was trouble. The giant snowball was too big and too heavy. It started to push Gordon back down the hill.
Look out, Thomas!
Cinders and ashes.
Gordon and his freight cars rolled back faster and faster. Thomas chuffed back faster and faster. He slipped into a siding, and Gordon rolled round the bend.
The giant snowball will surely miss us now.
But Gordon was wrong. The giant snowball rolled down the track and crashed and bashed into Thomas.
Help!
Gordon saw Thomas and his car of firewood lifted high in the air and derailed. Now it was Thomas who looked like a giant snowball. Luckily, no one was hurt. Gordon felt terrible.
I'm not strong, and I'm not the best. It's a disaster.
Gordon steamed slowly to Thomas.
I'm sorry, Thomas. I'll huff my hardest to help you.
Gordon heaved and hauled. He pushed and puffed, but the snow was too heavy. The snow was too thick. Gordon could not chuff through it to help his friend.
I'm not strong enough, Thomas. I'll find Rocky. He's stronger than me.
Gordon found Rocky at Brendam Docks.
Hello, Thomas. I'll have you back on the tracks in no time.
Soon, Thomas was no longer a snowball. He was a bright blue engine again.
Thank you, Rocky. Now I must deliver my firewood. I'm very late. The station masters will be waiting. and they'll be very cold.
I'll help you, Thomas.
What about your very important job?
I delivered my freight cars to the docks. Now I can help you with your very important job.
Thomas was happy to have his friends help.
Thank you, Gordon.
Thomas and Gordon chuffed cheerfully through the snow. And when they came to a hill, they always puffed around it. Together, Thomas and Gordon delivered the firewood to all the stations. The station masters were very pleased to see them. At last, Gordon and Thomas puffed home to Tidmouth's sheds. They were tired, but they were happy to have been really useful. Gordon wished grandly.
I have something very important to say. No engine is special, and every engine is best.
Thomas and his friends whistled.
Straight to the steamworks.
James was pleased.
Thank you, sir. I will be the smartest engine on the whole island.
James whistled with pride. James puffed proudly into the steamworks. Workmen were waiting. First, they took off James's old coat of red paint. Then they applied a special pink paint. The pink paint was to go under the new red coat. It was to keep the water out. Soon, James was covered from fender to firebox in bright pink paint. Just then, Sir Topham had arrived.
My granddaughter is having her birthday party today. Emily was to pick her up at Maithwaite Station, but she has broken down. The other engines are busy. You must collect the children and take them to the party.
But, sir, I'm not ready.
You're quite ready enough, James. Leave right away. The party starts at tea time. You mustn't be late.
Sir Topham Hatt left. James was upset.
Oh, no. Pink is a silly color. I don't want anyone to see me looking silly.
James puffed up to a junction. Emily was there. She was waiting for the workmen.
Cinders and ashes! You're bright pink, James.
Emily laughed and laughed.
Oh, no. Everyone is going to laugh at me because I'm pink.
James didn't want to be laughed at. Then an idea flew into his funnel.
If I see any other engines on the way to the children, I'll hide.
James chuffed through the countryside. Ahead, he could see Toby puffing along the track.
I don't want Toby to see my pink paint. He'll think I'm silly. I'll hide under this tree until he's gone.
So, James chuffed under the branches of a willow tree. Toby puffed slowly towards him. James kept as quiet as he could, so that Toby wouldn't hear him. Suddenly, James heard a whistle he knew well. It was Gordon.
Clickety-clack, express on the track!
With a wheesh and a whoosh and a whistling wind, Gordon thundered down the express line. The branches of the tree blew up in the air. There was James in his bright pink paint. Toby stopped. He was surprised.
Fizzling fireboxes, James. You're a big pink engine.
James felt very silly. He didn't like being laughed at. So, he steamed swiftly away. James puffed on towards Maithwaite.
I mustn't be late for the children.
Then James saw Diesel.
Oh, no! It's Diesel! He's sure to laugh. I have to hide quickly.
James saw some freight cars. They were piled high with coal. James puffed into the siding and hid behind the freight cars.
This is a good hiding place.
Then Diesel oiled into the siding.
Fizzling fenders.
Diesel had to shunt the coal cars. Diesel shunted away the cars that James was hiding behind. So James puffed to the next cars. Then Diesel shunted those away as well. Quickly, James rolled behind the last two freight cars. Then Diesel shunted them away.
Oh no.
Diesel was surprised.
What are you doing, James? You're a big pig, Steamy.
James felt terrible. Being laughed at by Diesel was worst of all. So James chuffed quickly away. James knew he was getting late. He had to pick up the children before tea time.
I will take a shortcut through this tunnel. That way, I'm sure to chuff to Maithwaite on time.
James puffed out of the tunnel. Then he heard a whistle.
It's Gordon! Oh no! I don't want Gordon to laugh at my silly pink paint. I have to hide.
So James reversed back into the tunnel and waited. Gordon pulled up to the tunnel. He could see steam.
Who's hiding in there? Express coming through. Come on out.
James didn't want to come out. He was sure Gordon would laugh at him. Then Thomas and Percy puffed up.
What's happening? Who's in there?
I don't know, but the express can't wait.
James knew the engines were waiting for him, and so were the children.
If I keep hiding, I'll be late to pick up the children, and they'll be late for their party.
So, with a puff and a huff, James chuffed slowly out of the tunnel. He was very unhappy.
James, you're all pink. What a funny color.
I'd hide too if I was bright pink.
James felt terrible. All the engines were laughing, but James knew what he had to do.
I feel very silly, but I can't let the children down.
James hurried to Maithwaite as fast as his pistons could pump. James saw Spencer at a junction. Spencer thought James looked very silly.
Oh dear, James. Bright pink really isn't your color.
James didn't like this, but this time, even though he felt silly, he didn't hide.
I mustn't be late for the children.
Then James saw Henry passing by.
My word, you do look pink.
But James didn't hide. He felt silly, but he didn't stop.
Must collect the children. Must collect the children.
James puffed towards Maithwaite. He could see the children waiting.
I'm sure the children will laugh too. They will think I look very silly.
And he steamed sadly on to the station. James pulled into Maithwaite. Sir Topham Hatt's granddaughter didn't laugh. And she didn't think James looked silly at all. She smiled. She was very excited and very happy.
James, you're a pink engine. Pink is my favorite color.
James couldn't believe it.
Do you really like pink?
I love pink, and so do all my friends. Look! Pink is our favorite color!
James was so happy it made his boiler bubble.
I'm a very lucky engine!
James puffed proudly into the town hall, just in time for the party. The children laughed and clapped their hands. James, the bright pink engine, was the hero. A blooming mess. It was a special day on the island of Sodor. Knapford Station was going to be decorated. All the engines were very busy and very excited. Sir Topham Hatt was at Tidmouth Sheds.
Knapford Station is being decorated. There are lots of jobs to do. Thomas, you must go to the quarry and collect slate for the new roof.
Yes, sir.
Emily, you must go to Maithwaite Station and collect the flowers for the new window boxes.
Flowers? How lovely! I know all about flowers. I know that buttercups are yellow.
Emily! And then take them to Knapford Station.
Yes, sir.
Emily huffed happily to Maithwaite Station. She passed Toby. Toby was delivering wood for Knapford's new floors.
Hello, Toby.
Hello, Emily.
Then Emily passed James. James was delivering pots of paint to paint Knapford's new walls.
Hello, James.
Good morning, Emily.
Emily puffed up to a junction. Mavis was on the bridge above.
Hello, Mavis.
But Mavis didn't say hello to Emily. Emily was surprised.
Mavis? Mavis! Hello?
Mavis still didn't say hello to Emily. Emily wondered what was wrong with Mavis.
I know what's wrong. Mavis must be feeling sad today.
At Maithwaite Station, Emily buffered up to the flatbed of flowers.
There are a lot of different flowers here, Emily.
Emily knew the names of all the flowers, but she didn't say a word. She was thinking about Mavis. She wanted to make Mavis happy. Then, an idea flew into her funnel.
I'm sure flowers would make Mavis happy. I have lots of them. I can leave some of them at the quarry for Mavis.
So, Emily didn't puff straight to Knapford Station with the flowers. She took the track to the quarry instead. Emily huffed happily into the quarry. She couldn't see Mavis anywhere.
I know. I'll decorate the quarry with flowers. That will make Mavis very happy when she comes back.
Emily looked for a place to put some flowers.
This is the perfect place. Mavis will see the flowers here as soon as she arrives.
Emily felt very pleased with herself.
Now, I must find somewhere else to put some more flowers.
Emily looked around. She didn't see Edward puff into the quarry behind her, but she did hear the loud crash.
Fizzling fireboxes! What was that?
Edward had crashed straight into the flatbed of flowers and rolled towards the hopper.
Edward, look out! Those flowers are going to make Mavis happy.
Pardon?
Edward was confused.
I'm sure flowers by the hopper would make Mavis happy. The hopper's so gray and dusty.
Emily felt even more pleased with herself.
Now, I must find somewhere else to put some more flowers.
Emily looked around. She didn't see Thomas reverse towards the hopper behind her, but she did hear the loud crash.
Bubbling boilers! What was that?
Cinders and ashes!
Bust my buffers!
Watch out for the flowers! They're going to make Mavis happy!
At that moment, Mavis pulled into the quarry.
Whatever has happened?
Emily looked at Mavis. Mavis wasn't happy. She was very upset.
What has happened to my quarry? And what are those flowers doing here?
Emily gasped.
The flowers haven't made Mavis happy. The quarry is in a terrible mess, and it's all my fault.
Emily chuffed up to Mavis.
You didn't say hello today, so I thought you were sad. I brought the flowers because I wanted to make you happy.
Mavis sighed.
I wasn't sad. I didn't say hello because I was thinking about all the jobs I had to do today.
Emily felt very silly.
I wish I had asked if you were sad. Then I wouldn't have brought the flowers and the quarry wouldn't be in a terrible mess.
Mavis looked at the mess. She looked very sad. Emily wanted to think of a way to make Mavis happy. And now she knew she had to ask.
Mavis, what would make you happy?
I would like the quarry to be tidy and all the engines to be really useful.
Emily felt very pleased she had asked Mavis. Now she knew exactly what to do to make Mavis happy.
I can't move. I'm covered in slate dust, and my firebox has gone out.
Don't worry, Thomas. I'll shunt you over to the coal hopper. You'll soon be burning brightly again.
Thank you, Emily.
So Emily worked hard. She puffed and she huffed, and she heaved Thomas to the coal hopper. Then she biffed and she bashed the flower beds away from the hopper so that Edward could shunt his freight car to be filled.
Now, the quarry is tidy again, and all the engines are being really useful. Is there anything else that would make you happy?
Yes. I want you to deliver the flowers to Knapford Station, where they should be.
Right away, Mavis.
At last, Emily arrived at Knapford Station.
Here are the flowers for the new flower boxes.
Thank you, Emily.
Emily watched as the flowers were unloaded. They looked very pretty.
Did you know, Thomas, that those yellow flowers are called buttercups? And those red ones, Edward, are called roses. And those white ones are daisies.
Mavis puffed up. She was smiling.
My!
You're smiling, Mavis. Are you happy?
I am. Those flowers look wonderful.
And that made Emily happy too. Buzzy Bees. It was a fine summer morning on the island of Sodor. The sun was shining, the birds sang. The flowers bloomed, and Thomas clickety-clacked along the track to Brendam Docks. Thomas's good friend Hero was unloading at Brendam Docks.
Good morning, Hero. Sir Topham Hatt tells me I have a special today for Farmer Trotter.
Good morning, my friend. Yes, you do. Look.
Thomas gasped.
Flatten my funnel. They look like small white wooden houses. Who lives in them?
Bees, my good friend. Lots and lots of bees. Their houses are called hives. Inside the hives, the bees are very busy making honey.
This made Thomas excited.
Sir Topham Hatt always has honey on his crumpets. I'll puff as fast as I can to deliver the beehives to Farmer Trotter.
Suddenly, Hero was stern.
Thomas, chuff slowly and smoothly. Take the truck through the woods. Then the bees will rest. You have to look after bees very carefully.
Don't worry, Hero. I will. They'll be happy with me.
Hero smiled.
Very well. I have to deliver these crates. Then I must pick up some flowers from Farmer McCall. I will visit the bees when I've finished.
Hero steamed slowly away. Thomas was coupled up to the beehives.
Off we go, bees.
Thomas puffed proudly to a junction. Ahead, he saw the track through the woods. The other track ran past a field full of flowers and bright sunshine.
The field with flowers is much prettier than the woods. I'm sure the bees would like that better.
So, Thomas didn't take the track through the wood as Hero had told him to. Thomas huffed happily along.
Buzzy bees are busy bees, and busy bees make honey. Buzzy bees are happy bees when it's warm and sunny.
Suddenly, there was a buzzing and a bizzing. Thomas applied his brakes.
Bust my buffers, what's that?
Thomas looked over to the field. His bees were everywhere. They buzzed busily, flying from flower to flower. Thomas was surprised.
Oh no. Come back, bees! Come back to your hives!
The bees weren't listening to Thomas. They were too busy buzzing in the field. Thomas tried again.
Please come back, bees. We'll be late for Farmer Trotter.
But still, the bees weren't listening to Thomas.
Fizzling fireboxes. I can't take the beehives to Farmer Trotter empty.
Then, an idea flew into Thomas's funnel.
The bees like flowers. I will chuff my hardest to Farmer McCall's and pick up the flatbed of flowers. Then, the bees will buzz around my flowers and back to their hives.
So Thomas was uncoupled from his flatbed. Then he steamed swiftly away. Thomas arrived at Farmer McCall's farm. He saw the flatbed of flowers.
I'm sure Hero won't mind if I borrow his flowers. I'll bring them back as soon as the bees are in their hives again.
And Thomas huffed happily back to the field. The bees were still buzzing busily from flower to flower in the field. Then they saw Thomas's flowery flatbed. The Buzzy Bees left the field and buzzed all around Thomas. They flew into his funnel. They buzzed his boiler and whizzed his wheels.
Trembling tracks! This flatbed of flowers wasn't a good idea. Go away, bees, please! Buzz into your hives and make honey.
But the bees weren't listening to Thomas. They were too busy buzzing.
I must race like the wind. Then maybe the bees will be blown off my buffers and fly back to their hives.
So Thomas pumped his pistons and raced away. But the bees didn't mind the wind on their wings. They flew round Thomas like a buzzing cloud. Thomas chuffed and puffed to a siding.
Very well, bees. If you won't leave me, I will leave you.
Thomas was uncoupled from his flatbed of flowers, and he clickety-clacked away down the track.
Now the Buzzy Bees won't bother me. They're too busy making honey for Sir Topham Hatt's tea.
Thomas chuffed to a junction. Hero was there. Thomas was surprised to see his friend.
Hello, Hero. You look puzzled.
I am Thomas. Farmer McCall's flowers have disappeared, and you have still not delivered the bees to Farmer Trotter. He's waiting and worried.
Thomas looked at his wise friend Hero. He hadn't looked after the bees. He hadn't looked after their hives, and he hadn't taken the woodland track. But he had taken Hero's flowers.
Hero, I have been very silly. I have been everything you told me not to be. But now, I will do everything you told me to do. Please wait for me here. I will bring you back your flowers.
Thomas's wheels started to whir, and his boiler started to bubble. Thomas had a lot to do. Thomas puffed back to the flatbed of flowers. The bees were still buzzing, but Thomas didn't mind.
Follow me, bees. I'll take you back to your hives.
And Thomas wheeshed away to the flatbed of beehives.
Farmer Trotter is waiting for you, bees. You will like living on his farm.
Then Thomas chuffed carefully away and took the track through the woods. The woods were deep and dark. The bees felt cold.
It's time to go home, all you busy bees. It's time to make honey in the shade of the trees.
And the busy bees buzzed into their hives. Farmer Trotter was waiting for Thomas. He was very pleased to see his new beehives.
Thank you, Thomas. But why have you brought me all those flowers?
They're not for you, Farmer Trotter. Hero is waiting for these. I must hurry.
Thomas pumped his pistons and puffed down the track. Hero was waiting for Thomas.
So, my good friend, here are my flowers.
I'm sorry, Hero. You will be late, I know. But from these flowers, Farmer Trotter will have the best honey on Sodor.
The two friends smiled. It had been a very busy, buzzy day. Time for a story. It was a beautiful day on the island of Sodor. The sun was shining and the birds were singing. Thomas had worked hard all morning. He tooted happily to the children as he chuffed back to Tidmouth Chase. Sir Topham Hatt was waiting. He had an important special.
This afternoon, there is to be a special story time for the children at the library. I need an engine to collect the new storybooks from Maithwaite Station and take them to the library.
Thomas wished his hardest that he would be given the special. Listening to stories with the children was his favorite thing to do.
Thomas, you will deliver the special. Make sure the books are at the library on time.
Thomas was excited.
Yes, sir.
And Thomas chuffed cheerfully away. Thomas puffed fast along the tracks.
I mustn't be late for story time. I'll chuff and I'll puff to be there on time.
Thomas steamed into Maithwaite Station.
Hello, Thomas.
I'm here to collect the new storybooks.
We'll have your freight cars ready in 2 toots of a whistle, Thomas.
Thomas saw the storybooks piled high in the 2 freight cars. There were red books, green books, and blue books. There were big books, small books, square books, and even round books.
They look wonderful.
Soon, Thomas was coupled up to the freight cars.
I must hurry. I have to deliver the storybooks to the library on time.
Thomas was very excited. He pumped his pistons and puffed quickly out of the station. Thomas didn't wait for the books to be covered. Thomas steamed quickly along the track.
I mustn't be late for story time. I'll chuff and I'll puff to be there on time.
The books began to jiggle and joggle, but Thomas didn't notice. Thomas puffed fast towards the junction. He could see the signal ahead was red.
I don't want to stop. The children are waiting for their special story time.
Then an idea flew into his funnel.
I can take the branch line. I know there aren't any junctions on that.
So, Thomas puffed quickly down the branch line. Thomas felt very pleased. he chuffed faster and faster, and the books jiggled and joggled more and more. But Thomas didn't notice.
I mustn't be late for story time. I'll chuff and I'll puff to be there on time.
Thomas raced round a bend. Ahead, there was a sign for works on the track.
Oh, bother! I'm sure the works on the tracks won't stop me.
So, Thomas puffed faster and faster. Then there was trouble. Workers were mending the broken track. The broken track was very bumpy. Thomas bumped and jumped. The books jiggled and joggled. Then Thomas hit the biggest bump of all.
Whoa! Cinders and ashes!
The freight cars bounced high in the air. They crashed and bashed. They clattered and shattered down to the tracks. Thomas put on his brakes. The books flew high and wide through the air and landed all over Farmer McColl's field.
Oh my! The freight cars are broken. The storybooks are all over the field. And the children now won't have their special story time. And it's all my fault. I was in such a hurry to be on time, I didn't want to wait. I should have waited for the books to be covered. And I shouldn't have taken the bumpy branch line. Oh dear. Fizzling fireboxes. What am I going to do?
Thomas looked at the storybooks. The sun was shining on them. The books looked even redder and greener and bluer than they had in the freight cars.
The storybooks look so pretty in this field. I wish the children could see them.
Then an idea flew into his funnel.
I'll bring the children to the storybooks. They can have a picnic story time in the sunshine. That really will be special.
So, Thomas puffed off to collect the children.
First, I must collect Annie and Clarabelle.
Victor and Kevin were busy at work as Thomas chuffed into the Sodor steamworks.
Hello, Victor. I'm here to collect Annie and Clarabelle. I'm going to take the children to a special picnic story time in the sunshine.
That's a wonderful idea, my friend.
The children will like that. They always have their best time with you, Thomas.
Thomas was pleased Victor and Kevin liked his idea. Later, Thomas huffed happily out of the steamworks with Annie and Clarabelle. Thomas puffed proudly up to the library at the town hall. The children were waiting. They were very surprised to see Annie and Clarabelle instead of cars of storybooks.
Today, I'm taking you to an extra special story time. It's a picnic story time in the sunshine. All aboard!
The children had never had a picnic story time. They thought it was a wonderful idea. Thomas blew his whistle and chuffed cheerfully away. Thomas puffed towards the junction. This time, Thomas waited. Then he took the branch line back to Farmer McColl's field. Thomas chuffed slowly and carefully up to Farmer McColl's field.
Here we are, the picnic story time special.
The children cheered. They could see all the different colored books in the field. They were very excited. This was the best story time ever. Thomas watched as the children ran onto the field. They each picked up a book, and their teacher began to read with them.
This is a story, children, all about a little boy. A little boy who didn't like waiting. He didn't like waiting because he thought he'd miss out on all the good things. But then he found out that good things are worth waiting for.
As the story began, Thomas looked at all the happy children. He smiled his biggest smile.
The children's picnic story time really is worth waiting for.
Thomas and the Pigs. There are lots and lots of farms on the island of Sodor. There are farms with sheep. There are farms with cows. There are farms with goats. Thomas likes visiting all the farms. But his favorite farm of all was Farmer Trotter's pig farm. Thomas liked their curly tails and the funny noises they made. Thomas liked to visit Farmer Trotter's pig farm as often as he could. One day, Thomas was watching the pigs roll in the mud. Farmer Trotter was happy to see Thomas.
Hello, Farmer Trotter.
Hello, Thomas. I have some very special news. One of my pigs is going to have piglets today.
Thomas was excited.
I can't wait to see them.
I need some soft straw for the piglets. I'd like you to go to Farmer McCall's right now to collect it. He will be waiting for you.
Thomas was happy to help.
Yes, Farmer Trotter.
So Thomas chuffed cheerfully away with his empty flatbed. On his way to Farmer McCall's, Thomas thought about the pigs.
I'm sure the piglets will like the soft straw. I wonder if there's anything else they like.
Thomas puffed up to the dairy. He saw Percy. Thomas told Percy all about the piglets.
How exciting! I wish I could see them, but I have to deliver this milk.
Thomas looked at the milk churns. An idea flew into his funnel.
I'm sure the piglets would like some milk. May I have some?
Of course you can, Thomas.
So the milk churns were loaded onto Thomas's flatbed.
Thank you, Percy. I must go. Farmer McCall is waiting for me.
And he steamed away. Thomas felt pleased.
I wonder what else the piglets might like.
Then Thomas saw James. James was at an orchard. The trees were full of juicy red apples.
Hello, James.
Hello, Thomas.
Thomas told James all about the piglets.
The piglets will soon be born. I must collect some soft straw for them.
I wish I could see the piglets, but I have to deliver these boxes of apples to the village.
Thomas looked at the juicy red apples.
I'm sure the piglets would like some juicy red apples. May I have some?
Of course you can.
So, Thomas's flatbed was loaded with lots and lots of juicy red apples.
Thank you, James. I must go. Farmer McCall is waiting for me.
Thomas chuffed quickly away. He felt very pleased.
I wonder what else the piglets might like.
Then Thomas saw some children. They were collecting shiny brown chestnuts.
Hello.
Thomas told the children all about the piglets. They were very excited.
I'm sure the piglets would like some shiny brown chestnuts to eat. Please, may I have some for them?
The children were delighted to give Thomas some of their shiny brown chestnuts.
Thank you. I must go. Farmer McCall is waiting for me.
And Thomas puffed away.
Bye.
he felt even more pleased. At last, Thomas chuffed to Farmer McColl's farm. Farmer McColl was waiting. He was cross.
Thomas, you're late. Where have you been?
I'm sorry, Farmer McColl. I stopped to collect some milk, some juicy red apples, and some shiny brown chestnuts for the piglets.
Farmer McColl looked at Thomas's flatbed. He saw the milk, the juicy red apples, and shiny brown chestnuts.
Your flatbed is full. You have no room for straw now.
Fizzling fireboxes. I didn't think about that. I hope the piglets will like the milk, the apples, and the chestnuts just as much as straw. I must puff straight back to Farmer Trotter's. The piglets will be born soon.
So Thomas pumped his pistons and chuffed quickly away. Thomas pulled up at the farm. Farmer Trotter was waiting. He looked at Thomas's full flatbed. He was surprised.
Thomas, where's the soft straw?
I thought the piglets would like these things just as much as straw.
No, Thomas. Piglets need soft straw, and they're about to be born.
Thomas felt very silly.
I'm sorry. I'll empty my flatbed, then I'll puff back to Farmer McColl's as fast as I can. I must get the straw. There can be no delay. The piglets will need it by the end of the day.
Thomas saw Percy at the water tower.
Thomas, I know something else the piglets would like. I'm sorry, Percy. I can't stop. Bye, Thomas. I must get the straw. There can be no delay. I've no time for chatter along the way.
Next, Thomas saw James at a junction.
Hello, Thomas. I've been thinking about the piglets. I'm sure they'd like...
I'm sorry, James. I can't stop. I must get the straw. There can be no delay. I've no time for chatter along the way.
Thomas whooshed and he wheeshed. He huffed and he puffed until he arrived at Farmer McColl's farm. It was late.
Hello, Farmer McColl. Now I have plenty of room for the soft straw for the piglets. Could you load it right now?
Of course I can, Thomas.
Thank you, Farmer McColl. I must hurry.
Thomas's pistons pumped and his axles ached.
I must puff fast. There's no time for delay. The piglets need straw by the end of the day.
At last, Thomas arrived at Farmer Trotter's pig farm. It was now nearly nighttime. Thomas saw that the pigs had gone.
Cinders and ashes. I'm too late.
You're just in time, Thomas. I need that soft straw right away.
Farmer Trotter unloaded the straw from Thomas's flatbed, and he took it away to make a nice soft bed for the piglets.
The piglets have just been born.
Thomas was delighted.
Bubbling boilers. Look how small they are and how sweet.
Thomas could see the piglets really liked the soft straw.
Aw, that little piglet is looking at me.
I think I'll call him Thomas.
Thomas was so happy. His axles tingled and his boiler bubbled.